Hello, and welcome to the 13th Podcast of Soulful Thoughts from Ireland. Each week I am bringing you stories and reflections of my time here in Ireland, reflecting on the times we are currently living in, and this grand pilgrimage of life and death that we are all on. Today, the weather. Anyone who has spent any time in Ireland will know there is weather. When a country has 20 different names for rain, all with very precise descriptions, you know that the weather is very real and something to be contended with. On my first visit to Ireland, and my first day going out and about, a woman greeted me and said, "Beautiful day, isn't it?" I replied with an enigmatic smile. You know, one of those silent smiles where you acknowledge the slightly sarcastic joke that has just been made. Because on this day, the wind was blowing, the sun intermittently peeking out beyond ever-present large grey clouds, and it was raining, and the rain was moving sideways, though feeling lightly in the way it was falling. I happened upon another woman who also greeted me in the same way. I now was a little taken aback and mystified, and realized their greetings were not sarcastic commentaries at all, but they actually believed this was a beautiful day. Perhaps it was the persisting moments of sun, or was it because the rain was light, or that the wind was not whipping? And so began my encounters with the weather. After spending some time in Ireland on those first visits, I knew my soul was in love with the land and was so very much at home here. My mind at that time cast over the thought of moving here. But what about the weather? I shuddered when I had the vision of myself in a small cottage alone, with lack of sun and damp coldness chilling my bones. Interesting that this is the vision that came. And from where did it come? An ancestral vision, perhaps? Why was it not a vision of a warm fire and misty mornings and friends enjoying music and laughter in the night? It is always of interest to me what images lie buried in our soul that we are holding on to. Images and visions which ultimately stop us moving into the life that is waiting for us. And so, at that time, I did not move to Ireland. I had a similar feeling of connection in a sweet place in Scotland, where my Scottish ancestors are from. It was such a genealogical thrill to drive out of Aberdeen and see the sign, the River Don, spelled exactly the way my surname is spelled. Something in me welled at that moment. Pride, recognition, a royalty of being. My body spread out into that land and those waters, and I made love with them right there and then. It was pure soul love. Journeying to a small seaside village, Again, my senses were enlivened and falling in love. Dining at a small pub on the shore, an elderly couple struck up conversation with me, and when they found out I was a Don, they became so excited and so very happy. The woman said, "Do you hear that, Andy? She's a Don. Oh, by God, she's come back. She's come back home. Buy her a drink, Andy. Go and get her a drink. We have to celebrate this." I was in deep awe at their connection and loyalty to name and ancestral heritage. The next day I met a younger Scottish couple who felt a deep sense of belonging to their roots and this same place. I casually mentioned that, yes, I would move here if it wasn't for the weather. This comment was not appreciated. The look on the man's face became thunderous, and he could barely look at me. When he did, it was with such an accusatory glare, as if he was in the presence of a traitor, which of course in his eyes, in his mind, I was. He virtually spat out these words: "If you belong somewhere, you belong somewhere, weather and all. Ugh!" And he walked away in sheer disgust. The woman patted me on the hand and quietly said, "Ach, I like the sun too." And off she went. His words have echoed in the chamber of my soul, on and off over the years. If you belong somewhere, you belong somewhere. No matter what the weather. But more than his words, it was the look of traitorous disgust on his face that is readily available for me to retrieve at any time. His accusing eyes of disbelief. Yet, my body does so love the sun and its natural healing qualities. Preparing for this journey and looking at the possibility of moving here, the words, "What about the sun? What about the sun?" kept intermittently sneaking in, much like the sun was trying to do on my first visit to Ireland. My first few days here on this visit, it was cold. No other word for it. Being by the ocean, the wind has a searing and relentless quality that is beyond brisk. Grayness was the constant palette of the sky and the ocean, and I wondered, as I wandered on my walks, how could a girl who loves the warmth and the sun survive here? I have never been a huge lover of the wind. Certainly there have been moments of experiencing its wildness and power, but the constant motion and its cutting temperatures have never endured me to her, this power of the air. As I like to be outdoors often, and as my body is sensitive to the cold, I wasn't sure how this could work out long term. But daily I took my walks and opened myself to this element to see if we could become better friends. In the Celtic tree oracle, Liz and Colin Murray write in regards to the oak tree, which is called Dur in Gaelic, meaning door: "Every house has a front door. If you wish to enter, the door must be approached and your presence made known. The door may then be opened. Every house has a front door. If you wish to enter, the door must be approached and your presence made known. The door may then be opened. One stormy day there were wind warnings, and it was blowing fiercely. I decided it was important for the door of air to be approached and for my presence to be made known. Making my way to the beach and standing at the shoreline, I was blown and knocked off balance numerous times, but I kept re-standing on my ground before this door of air, the door of the wind. Determined and exhilarated, my inner cry came forth. I feel you. Do you feel me? And then suddenly the wind dropped, just like that. Not even a whisper of movement in the air. The door had opened. I smiled and walked through. Within moments, she, the wind, returned, and my hair was swirling in circles, coat was flapping as I was walking, flying down the beach. I laughed in joy as this powerful element was showing off her glory. Walking back to my cottage, I knew I would be okay here. Soon thereafter, the weather changed. The sun was constantly out. What? Blue skies, blue ocean, warm wind. And it continued and continued, day after day. We were all elated and striding out on our walks, the locals in t-shirts, me in a fleece to start with, though eventually I graduated to t-shirts too. It was warm. On one particular day, I drove to a nearby coastal walk, and looking down from the cliff top, I saw a track leading all the way down to a sweet rocky bay. It was a very steep walk back up. I got back in the car and said, I will do that walk another time when it is not so hot. And I laughed and laughed how quickly I had adapted. And here we are all in these times, also being asked to adapt to a different kind of cultural weather. We have been blown so far off the course of our lives, both individually and collectively, both for good and for ill. We all need to approach a door we want to walk through and offer our presence. Perhaps we all need to call on the energy of the oak tree at this time. It is often struck by lightning due to its size. However, its roots are so deep in the earth that its fecundity and life is assured. The oak can give us the energy of solidity, protection, and security, which seem to be much needed for ourselves and others more fragile than us. Can we stand at the door of strength and make our presence known? Can we walk through that doorway and take our love to where it is needed? Can we feel solid and secure amidst so much insecurity and fluidity? Let us all dig deeply into our roots, wherever that may be for each of us, and contribute to bringing forth the warm winds of a new humanity. This podcast is particularly relevant today, as for the last 10 days, the temperature has dropped, the wind has been blowing relentlessly, and the rain intermittently lashing down. So now I'm off to make friends with the 20 types of rain. As I'll be traveling northward and taking some time for research and writing over these next summer months, I will only be offering these podcasts every 2 weeks from now. So until then, all good health and strength of body, mind, and spirit. Shalom.